right. أهلا وسهلا فيكم جميعا. بتمنى إن يومكم جميل وأسبوعكم حيكون أجمل إن شاء الله. Best of luck in your midterm exam tomorrow. For now, let me share my screen. And let's make sure that everyone can see the slides and everyone can hear my voice. الكل عم بسمع صوتي وعم بشوف السلايدز. شباب صبايا.
مية مية دكتور مبينة.
All right. For now, I'm going to disconnect my camera to make sure that we will have a better internet connection. Now, before we start with our lecture for today, في أي حدا عنده أي سؤال أو أي استفسار with regards to our exam tomorrow? All right, I'm assuming that everything is clear for everyone. وإحنا زي ما حكينا, for now we are covering chapter 5, which is basically can be considered as a review of chapter 4, the material that you have to cover for the midterm exam. Now, if you guys remember, we've been discussing how we can evaluate a single project. And we mentioned that we have a couple of methods that we will be using throughout chapter 5 in order to evaluate a single project or an alternative or a business opportunity where we can decide if this alternative is economically justified and the capital investment gonna pay off in some returns or some profit by the end of the planning horizon or the study period for the alternative. If you guys remember, in our last lecture, we covered the present worth method, the annual worth method, and the future worth method. Basically, these are the equivalent worth method where what we're doing, we're finding the economical equivalent for the transactions throughout the cash flow diagram into the present in the present worth method, into the future in the future worth method, and into an annuity using the annual worth method. And we mentioned that the conclusion or the outcome from each one of these methods are the same. So basically, if you accepted a project using one of these methods, it's going to be accepted using the rest of the methods. Or by the end of the day, whenever you calculate, for example, the present worth, you have a single value, you can actually calculate or find the future worth or the annual worth based on your present worth value. For today, we will discuss some applications that it exists in real life depending on the present worth method. And we will start with the bonds. So basically bonds, which is خلينا نحكي بالعربي, it's السندات اللي هو انت بتشتري سند من البنك, بتدفع مبلغ to acquire this bond, and by default you're gonna start getting an annual or monthly or a quarterly, depending on the interest period, installments throughout the lifespan of the bond. And by the end of that bond, you can actually sell it with a specific price. So in order to calculate the present worth for the bond transactions, what I need the redemption or disposal price, which is you're going to be selling the bond according to this price. So it's going to be in the future. فإذا بدي أحسب present worth, I'm going to multiply it by find P given F. We will have the face value of the bond, the amount of money that you're going to pay in order to acquire the bond, multiplied by the nominal rate, which would govern the installments that you will get throughout the lifespan of the bond. Basically, it's going to be an annuity. فبالتالي عشان أحولها لpresent, I'm going to multiply it by find P given A. فهلا I want you all to understand this equation or this formula. Basically what we're doing, it's an application of the present worth. فلهيك أنا عم بحسب a present, ولهيك عم بنشوف ال values that I'm gonna extract from the annuity tables. It's all gonna give me a present value. فزي ما احنا شايفين VLN, which is the value or the price of the bond. Z and C, they are the face value and the redemption value of the bond. R, it's the bond rate. N, it's the interest periods or number of periods before the redemption happen. And finally, I, which is the bond yield rate per period, which is the effective bond yield rate. It's a straightforward application for the present world method. خلينا نشوف examples. Hopefully after the example, it's going to be clear for everyone. Now for the first example, we have a bond with a face value of $5,000 that pays an interest of 8% per year. فأنا فعليا الانترست اللي هي النومينال حتكون 8%. الفيس value for the bond, it's 5,000, which is Z. Now this bond will be redeemed at a par value at the end of its 20-year life. And the first interest payment is due 1 year from now. فأنا بالتالي راح يكون في عندي redemption value equal to the par value, which is the 5,000, and the period of the loan, it's 20 years from the first year. وبما إنه the payment is going to be due in 1 year, فبالتالي ال interest period, I'm going to treat it as year by year. Now the question is asking me, how much should be paid now for this bond in order to receive a yield of 10% per year on the investments. معناتها الeffective أو yield rate, it's 10%. وبدي أشوف إيش ال present worth اللي هي how much should be paid now. عشان أحسب present worth بدي أستعمل القانون تبع البوند, which is basically gonna be the redemption value 5,000 multiplied by find P given F plus 8% in nominal interest rate multiplied by the 5,000, which would give you the amount of installments that you would get on a yearly basis. فقيمة ثابتة عم تتكرر on each year, that's an annuity. So I would multiply it by find P given A. فبالتالي أنا عندي redemption والface value equal 5,000, الnominal equal 8%, the yield rate equal 10%, and the interest period is 20 years. Straightforward application. Into the equation بيطلع معي the value of the bond $4,148.44. فإذا أنت فعليا بدك تروح على البنك وبدك تشتري البوند, المفروض ما تدفع 5,000, المفروض تدفع $4,148. فأنت بتشتري البوند بتصير تحصل دفعات سنوية قيمتها 5,000 multiplied by 0.08 لمدة 20 سنة. at the end of the lifespan of the bond you can sell it for the redemption value. هلا السؤال بيحكي لي if this bond was purchased now at 4,600, what's the annual bond yield would the buyer receive. يعني فعليا أنا السؤال بيحكي لي in case I had the present worth ودفعت اليوم 4,600, how much would be the annual bond yield. فالسؤال فعليا عم بسألني إيش قيمة الانترست ريت اللي راح يرجع لي فيها or I would recover what I paid for this bond. أنا عندي ال present value وعندي ال redemption value, عندي ال face value وعندي ال nominal interest rate. The other values أنا يا إما بطلعها من التيبلز, وبما إنه ما عندي قيمة الانترست ريت بقدر أستعمل trial and error. بروح على التيبل بختار any interest rate بشوف الفاليو إذا كانت equal to 4,600 that's my interest rate. كانت أقل بدي أزيد قيمة الانترست ريت, كانت أكثر بدي أقلل قيمة الانترست ريت. If you can use the calculator to solve this formula, this is the equation for find P given F, this is the equation for find P given A. نقدر نحطها على السولفر and the calculator would give you an answer of an interest rate or yield interest rate equal 8.9% per year. واضحة للجميع الأمور؟ طبعا زي ما حكينا it's a straightforward application for the present worth. بصفي الموضوع you need to understand the mechanism of the bond, how it works, when I'm gonna get my installments or my payments, and finally, what do I mean with the present worth for the bond, which is the amount of money that I would be willing to pay the bond with it in order to get some benefits out of this transaction. واضحة للجميع؟ حدا عنده سؤال أو استفسار؟ كمان you guys, as always, give me a thumbs up if you don't have any question. Otherwise, I'm gonna assume that you're not tuned in with the lecture. شباب صبايا الأمور واضحة للجميع ولا نأخذ حضور وغياب؟ Alright, اللي بيسمعني حاليا please give me raise your hand and that would be considered as the absence for today. إذا عم تسمعني raise your hand. All right, you can unraise your hand right now. وزي ما حكينا, whenever I'm asking a question, you guys, I want some interaction. You can give me a thumbs up to make sure that you at least tuned in. هلا, the bond topic, it can be easily confused. وكثير سهل ممكن تغلطوا بحل أسئلته. Please pay attention. And if you have any question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. Now let's cover another example. In this example, we have a bond that has a face value of $10,000 and mature in 8 years. فأنا فعليا هون عرفت الفيس value اللي هي قيمة Z وعرفت ال interest periods for the bond, which is 8 years. Now the bond stipulates a fixed nominal interest of 8%. This is the amount of R or the value of R per year, but interest payments are made to the bondholder every 3 months. فبالتالي فعليا each 3 months or each quarter you're getting an installment. Now the bondholder wishes to earn 10% nominal annual interest compounded quarterly, which is the effective interest rate or the yield interest rate with 10% nominal annual interest rate compounded quarterly. Basically, this is what we covered within the effective and compounded interest rates. And we did those calculations in chapter 4, which is very important for the midterm exam tomorrow. So please pay some attention. Now, assuming that the redemption value is equal to the face value, which is equal to 10,000, how much should be paid for the bond now? السؤال بيحكي لي كم the present worth for the bond right now. إذا كانت redemption والface value equal 10,000, and nominal interest rate it's 8% per year, yield rate equal 10% as nominal annual interest rate compounded quarterly, ولكن الانستولمنت عم بتصير each and every 3 months. وإذا بتتذكروا from the beginning of chapter 4, I always stressed out that the interest rate and the interest period should always have the same unit. Now, alhamdulillah, since the yield rate is 10% nominal compounded quarterly والpayment عم بتصير each quarter, عشان أحسب الإفكتيف حياتي سهلة, النومينال ما بتغلبني, بقسمها على 4 لأنه الcompounded already quarterly that go hand in hand with the payments اللي هي أنا عم بتصير each 3 months. فبالتالي عشان أحسب الإفكتيف per quarter بقسم النومينال على 4. بما إنه الييلد period 8 years وأنا عم بشتغل per quarter, so I would multiply it by 4 عشان يعطيني ال interest periods per quarter. ونفس الشيء بالنسبة للنومينال rate. أنا النومينال عمره ما بغلبني زي ما حكينا, it's 8%, بدي أحولها لكوارتر بقسمها على 4 يطلع معي 2% nominal و 2.5% effective quarterly yield interest rate redemption will face value I have it will interest period it's 32 quarter straightforward throughout the application بيطلع معي ال present worth $8,907.55. So basically even that the bond has a face value of 10,000 إذا أنت بدك تشتريه من البنك to make some profit you shouldn't pay more than $8,907.55. واضح للجميع إيش اللي عملناه بالييلد interest rate والنومينال interest rate؟ Alright, I'm gonna assume that it's clear for everyone. وإذا في عندك سؤال زي ما حكينا this chapter or this topic أو how to deal with the interest rate we cover it in chapter 4 which is gonna be very important for your midterm exam. فإذا في عندك مشاكل بالnominal والcompounded interest rate please make sure to ask me your questions or to cover it before your midterm exam.
دكتور يعطيك العافية.
الله يعافيك.
بدي أسألك بس سؤال مش بالمادة، بدي أسألك بكرة الامتحان شو القاعات وأي ساعة؟
الامتحان على الساعة 1:30 في student.com مختبر الحاسوب student.com.
تمام شكرا.
ممتاز. طبعا try to be there 5 minutes before 1:30. Bring with you the interest and annuity tables. Have a calculator on you. Well, best of luck for all of you. All right. Let's solve another example. What is the value of 6% 10-year bond with a pair or redemption value of $20,000 that pays dividend semi-annually؟ يعني أنا فعليا لما أشتري البوند راح أخذ دفعاتي semi-annually كل نص سنة راح يكون في عندي دفعة. So by default 10 years راح يكونوا عبارة عن 20 semi-annually interest period والnominal interest rate I'm going to divide it by 2 بيطلع 3%. And if the purchaser wishes to earn 8% in return بما انها 8% in return انا بدي احولها semi annually فبالتالي راح اعوض 4%. straightforward انا عندي redemption والفيس value of 20,000 عندي effective yield interest rate 4% وعندي nominal 3%. زي ما حكينا ال 20,000 multiplied by 0.03 بيعطيني الدفعات اللي راح استلمها semi annually. قيمة ثابتة عم تتكرر بدي احولها لبريزنت بضربها بفايند P given A. ونفس الشيء بالنسبة للredemption value at the end of the 10 years or the 20 semi-annual interest period بدي احولها لبريزنت بضربها بفايند P given F. بروح على التيبلز بطلع الفاليوز بيطلع معي البريزنت worth $17,282.18. Alright, I'm assuming إنه الأمور إن شاء الله واضحة للجميع. It's a bit straightforward, but I want you to differentiate between the face value, redemption value, the interest period, nominal rate, and the effective yield interest rate. If you were able to differentiate between these notations, the point gonna be a straightforward calculations. هلا I'm assuming that everyone can use the interest and annuity tables. If you have a question, please feel free to ask your question. Now, هلا احنا عم نحكي عن الابليكيشن للpresent worth. Since we're done with the bond, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and I'm gonna share slides number 9 to continue with some applications for the present worth. Now, the second application that actually works in real life for the present worth can be considered the capitalized worth, which basically it's a special variation of the present worth. It's a special case where revenues or expenses would occur over an infinite length of time. أنا فعليا في عندي some cases or scenarios where the revenue or the expenses gonna keep happening over an infinite amount of time. على سبيل المثال إذا بالجامعة أو بعض الجامعات بيكون فيها grant funds عبارة عن bank account that have money in it, and usually they would give a grant to some student in perpetuity, which mean each year or each couple of years there would be a grant given to one of the students, and that's going to keep happening for an infinite length of time. In order to be able to calculate the present worth that would give you or provide the infinite amount of transactions, راح نستعمل ال capitalized worth in order to get that value. Now, if only expenses are considered, it would be called a capitalized cost, which make some sense. Now, the capitalized worth method is especially useful in a problem involving grants and public project with indefinite lives. على سبيل المثال إذا أمانة عمان عملت جسر جديد in عمان, they're going to keep paying for its maintenance. I'm not going to say forever, but as long as the bridge exists, and usually those bridges would be designed to be there for 50 or 100 or 150 years. It would be easier to use the capitalized worth or capitalized cost in order to calculate these values. Now, the capitalized worth of a project with an interest rate of I would be the annual equivalent of the project over its useful life divided by the interest rate. Now, basically, we're not going to go through the integration to find the formula, but basically, if n was going all the way to infinity, I can use 1 over I instead of the equation of the annuity. فأنا فعليا to calculate the capitalized worth, I need the annuity اللي هي القيمة الثابتة that it's gonna keep happening till infinity or infinite amount of time divided by the interest rate that would give me the capitalized worth or the capitalized cost. On the annuity tables, Appendix D or Appendix C, right after our usual annuity tables, if you can see that with the interest period, when the interest period goes all the way to infinity, I can find P given A, which is gonna be our capitalized worth. فبالتالي the value of find P given A, for example, in this page, the interest rate is 4%. فبالتالي 1 divided by 0.04 would be 25.00. Again, we're not going to go through the detail of the integration and the limitation and how we can actually calculate or how we actually extracted these formulas, but for the capitalized worth, it would equal the annuity, القيمة الثابتة اللي عم تتكرر for an infinite amount of time divided by the interest rate that govern that transaction. That would give me the present worth or the capitalized worth. For example, if we have a bridge that was constructed at a cost of 1.9 million and the annual upkeeping cost is 25,000. Now, it's also estimated that the maintenance will be required at a cost of $350,000 every 8 years. فأنا فعليا عم بصير عندي I have 1.9 million in order to construct this bridge. Each year, I'm gonna pay $25,000 for the upkeeping of that bridge, from the maintenance, the service for the bridge. Now, it's also estimated that the maintenance will require a cost of $35,000 every 8 years. فكل 8 سنوات أنا راح أعمل maintenance, and that would cost me $350,000. Now, what is the capitalized worth of the bridge over its life, assuming a minimum attractive rate of return of 8%? Now, if I want to look at the cash flow diagram, لو بدي ارسم كاش فلو دياجرام راح يكون عندي 1.9 مليون at year 0. كل 8 سنوات راح يكون في عندي $350,000 وكل سنة حيكون في عندي $25,000. فبالتالي إذا بدي أحسب الكابيتالايزد وورث in 1.9 مليون it's already at year 0. فبالتالي أنا ما في عندي مشاكل. ال 25,000 اللي عم بتصير بشكل سنوي it's already an annuity. وبما إنها annuity to find or to calculate the capitalized worth, it would equal the annuity divided by the interest rate. But 25,000 divided by 0.08, that would give me the capitalized worth for the 25,000 that happen every year. Now at the same time, بالنسبة ل $350,000 that happen each and every 8 years, in order to calculate the capitalized worth, I need an annuity, uniform payment that would be repeated per each and every interest period. فبالتالي أنا لو بدي أحكي 350,000 لو بدي أعتبرها as a future value at end of year 8 وأحسب الانيويتي لإلها by multiplying it by find A given F with interest rate of 8 و interest period of 8 راح يعطيني قيمة الانيويتي per year. ونفس الشيء راح أعمله لل 350,000 for the next 8 years and the next 8 years and the next 8 years. فبالتالي راح تطلع معي قيمة ثابتة عم تتكرر each and every year. بما إني طلعت الانيويتي per year بقسمها على الانترست ريت بيعطيني الكابيتالايزد worth. فبالتالي لو كان في معي فلوس right now 2.6 مليون بحطهم بالبنك بفائدة 8%، بقدر أسحب منهم 1.9 مليون to construct the bridge، وبنفس الوقت I can cover all of the maintenance for an infinite amount of time. واضحة للجميع كيف حسبناها؟ شباب صبايا، حدا عنده سؤال؟ حدا عنده استفسار؟ Again إذا الأمور واضحة للجميع you guys give me a thumbs up. شباب صبايا
الأمور كلها واضحة دكتور.
all right.
معك دكتور.
تمام. Now if the bridge has an expected life of 50 years, what is the capitalized worth of the bridge over a 100-year study period? I'm assuming that after 50 years the bridge would be demolished and we're gonna build a new bridge to cover the next 50 years. So بالتالي أنا راح أعتمد، أو لو بدي أرسم cash flow diagram at year 0 I would have 1.9 million. Each and every year I would have an expense of 25,000. Each 8 years I would have 350,000, and by the end of the 50 years I would have another 1.9 million, etc., to an infinite amount of time. Now we have a study period of 100 years. فبالتالي راح أخذه بعين الاعتبار ال 1.9 million at year 0, 1.9 million at year 50. With regards to the 25,000, it's going to keep happening every year with no interruption. فبالتالي I will divide that on the interest rate to give me the present worth. 350,000, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to try to find the annuity per year, divide that by the interest rate. That would give me the capitalized worth. Now I have the 1.9 million at end of year 50. بحولها لyear 0 to give me the capitalized worth, which is again basically one of the application of the present worth. So I can get the values from the tables. بيطلع معي total cost or the total cost that I need right now in order to support or to cover the expenses of that bridge for 100 years. I'm hoping that everyone can differentiate between the two parts of the example. Again, if you have a question, please feel free to ask your question. Otherwise, let's go and cover the next example. Now, in this example, we have Perry that has decided to donate some fund to her local community college. Now, she would like to fund an endowment that will provide a scholarship of $25,000 each year in perpetuity, and also a special award Student of the Decade each 10 years. Now, in the amount of $50,000. فبالتالي أنا فعليا اللي حيصير عندي طالبة تخرجت من الجامعة، وبعد ما تخرجت قررت إنه بدها تفتح حساب للجامعة وتحط فيه فلوس حتى الجامعة تقدر تعطي منحة $25,000 كل سنة، وكل 10 سنوات يكون في scholarship or an award of $50,000. Now, how much money does she need to donate today in one lump sum to fund the endowment? Assume that the fund will earn a return of 8% per year. Basically, كم الفلوس اللي لازم أحطها اليوم عشان كل سنة أقدر أسحب 25,000 وكل 10 سنين أسحب 50,000. هلأ keep in mind once أنا حطيت الفلوس بالبنك راح يصير في عليها فائدة قيمتها 8% على كل الفلوس الموجودة. فبالتالي ال 25,000 it's an annuity عم بتصير كل سنة. capitalized worth لإلها would be 25,000 divided by the interest rate 8%. Now the $50,000 عم بتصير at the end of 10 years بحولها لannuity per year بضربها ب find A given F تطلع $3,451.47. طلع معي annuity per year that would cover the 50,000 each 10 years. بقسمها على الانترست ريت بيعطيني الكابيتالايزد وورث. ففعليا لو اليوم الطالب تحط $355,000 and a change in a bank account that earns 8% per year راح الحساب يظل يشغل حاله بانترست ريت قيمتها 8%. فأنا أول سنة راح أخذ 25,000، ثاني سنة راح أخذ 25,000. بنفس الوقت الفلوس اللي عم بتضل بالبنك it would earn 8% in interest rate. فأنا الحساب عم بيغذي حاله from الفوائد اللي عم تجي. فلهيك this account can sustain itself to cover $25,000 each year, $50,000 each 10 years in perpetuity, which means almost till infinity. واضحة للجميع؟ right. وأنا صراحة ما بدي أطول عليكم كثير especially because of the midterm exam tomorrow. I wish you all the luck in the world. وزي ما حكينا practice as much as possible. الامتحان it's gonna be a bit similar to what we covered throughout the lecture as long as you have understood the concepts behind the engineering economics, and at the same time you need to practice because there's gonna be some time constraints throughout the exam. Now في أي حدا عنده أي سؤال أو أي استفسار؟ Alright. بقدر أحكي لكم يعطيكم ألف عافية جميعا. I'm gonna stop recording for this meeting وبنشوفكم إن شاء الله على خير يوم الاثنين القادم بالنسبة للمحاضرة و tomorrow for the exam. برجع بأكد الامتحان حيكون بالstudent.com على الساعة 1:30. I'm gonna stop recording now